Okay, good, Nick.
Alright. The Patient Protection Affordable Care Act, commonly known as the Affordable Care Act, ACA, or Obamacare, was signed into law on March 23rd, 2010. The goal of this law is to expand health coverage to all Americans. Now, this law sounds very expensive, and it sounds like it could also negatively impact people. The law has been doing quite the opposite. And so in my main proposition, the Affordable Care Act is benefiting more Americans. I shall emphasize that in 3 main points. First, it's increasing access to health care. Second, it's imposing new policies on insurers that are benefiting or will benefit their customers. Thirdly, it's assisting more small businesses to insure their employees. Now, my first main point, the Affordable Care Act increases health care by letting Americans choose from a variety of more affordable health plans. So, in addition to that, in 2014, people who qualify for tax credits, it helps lower their the cost of their health insurance. So, also, how they increase access to health care is that they expand Medicare and Medicaid. If you don't know what those are, Medicare is old people's insurance. It's for people 65 and older. Medicaid is for people with low income. But for Medicaid, it won't be expanded till 2014. But according to the Office of the Actuary at the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services, estimates that 26 million additional people will be insured by Medicaid by 2020. So they have high hopes for this law. And so these plans do sound costly, but the Affordable Care Act is bringing down health costs because according to Kathleen Sebelius, Secretary of Health and Human Services, says that in reality the law is fully paid for. Thanks to the law, more than 34 million people with Medicare received a no-cost preventive service. So, as for health insurers, in my second point, new policies are being imposed on them so that their customers will benefit or are benefiting or will benefit. Some of the rules imposed on them are the 80/20 rule, which means that insurers must spend at least 80 cents of your premium dollar on your health care or improvements to care. If they fail to meet this standard, they must Okay, if they fail to meet the standard, they must provide a rebate to their customers, a refund basically. And so, on June 1st, 2012, the Department of Health and Human Services they said that insurers provided nearly 12.8 million Americans with more than $1.1 billion in rebates. So that's a lot of people that were able to get refunds from their insurers because health insurance the cost of health insurance has increased, but with these new policies, they can go down now. So, another policy imposed on them is the is imposing the rule that insurers are prohibited from denying or will be prohibited from denying coverage to Americans who have pre-existing conditions. So if you have a pre-existing condition, it's just a health condition that exists before someone applies for or enrolls in a new health insurance policy. And so between 50 and 129 million non-elderly Americans have at least one pre-existing condition that that would threaten their access to health care. So in 2014, again, everyone will have access to health care, to health insurance, without being discriminated based on a pre-existing condition. And lastly, my third point, the law is assisting more small businesses to ensure their employees is ensuring more with other employees. This also sounds costly, but the law gives incentives to businesses with more tax credits. And with tax credits, they can lower the cost of their health insurance, greatly lower the cost of their health insurance. So in 2011, businesses that qualified for tax credits benefited an estimated 2 million workers who get their insurance from an estimated 360,000 small employers. So as more these businesses qualify for tax credits, they can lower their health insurance. And this typically benefits small businesses that have between 1 to 500 employees. But if you have fewer than 25 employees, and depending on the worker's wages, and if you provide health insurance, you get tax credit up to 35%, and in 2014 that number will go up to 50%. So overall, the Affordable Care Act has had some great impact on people, and the ACA has yet to impose more great changes in 2014, and that's why my main proposition, the Affordable Care Act, is benefiting more Americans.
All right, Nick, you've got a couple of things that are pretty solid. I think there's a good statement of what the proposition is. You lay out what the secondary claims are going to be so we don't get lost there. Also, in the body of the speech, you signpost those pretty clearly. On the individual points, I think that you do have some of the, I think I mentioned this in the outline, I'm trying to remember. Some of what you have is descriptive of what the program is supposed to do without a demonstration that it is doing that. The best evidence that I heard talked about the tax credit availability and how many more people are going to be covered because of that. That's fine. There's some general information I think is a little vague that doesn't necessarily apply to some of the issues that you're talking about. For instance, the issue of it all being paid for, that's not really connected to whether or not it is working and expanding the coverage the way it's supposed to. The Medicaid and Medicare issues, you say they're not really going into effect for another year or so, so it's awfully hard to tell what the impact is going to be, and I know what the policy says that it's supposed to be, but what you need to do is show us why that is likely to be the outcome, and I think that there needed to be a little bit more evidence on that. You have a tendency to read and talk down when you're looking at all the detail stuff. The best time when you're connecting with the audience is when you're making a transition from one point to the next, and I think you do a pretty good job. That also gives us a nice visual transition so that it helps us know when it is you're going from one point to the next. I like that. All right.